Hello, good people. Welcome to another episode of Dear Authors. My name is Janae Brown, and I am the senior publisher and founder of Open Book Publishing. And at Open Book Publishing, we help storytellers repurpose their professional expertise and their creative genius into page-turning published books. And so today we are here for another episode of Dear Authors. And as you guys know, Dear Authors is a weekly lunch and learn. We chat with authors, with professionals in the publishing space, and also with service providers, giving all authors, rather aspiring or publishing, the ins and outs and a glimpse into the publishing and the author space. So today, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have the lovely Miss Bianca Cotton, who's going to have a good conversation about what it is to maintain momentum once you become an author, because Miss Thang got 5 books, y'all. Okay, so join me in welcoming Miss Bianca Cotton. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, thanks for having me in this space.
Absolutely, man. I was like, we gotta have a real conversation about because there's so many people who always ask the conversation like, when do you know when to write the next book? And I was like, there is nobody else to ask something. Wrote the next book and the next book, and now you got 5.
Yes.
5. So before we get started, Bianca, tell the people who you are before we dive in.
Yes, hello people, hello good people. I am Bianca Cotton. I'm a wife, a mom. I love to smile and laugh. And I'm the founder of Behind the Confident Smile, where we inspire women to walk in love, live in hope, and be healed from past hurts. And if you all have not tuned into the news or these social media streets, we need that more now than ever. People need to know that they are loved. And in addition to that, I'm a podcast host and a 5-time author, which we're going to dig into that today.
Yeah, and can we not skip over the fact that not only is she a podcast host, but now her podcast is on television? People, you're gonna spill the tea, spill it hot, Bianca.
You're right. God has blessed me to be in a position where my podcast is now on TV, on Ken TV, which is a local television network in Chicago. And I would have never thought it. Like a podcast on TV?
Girl, you doing big things. You're doing big things. And congratulations, because not only are you doing big things, but you're doing big things while you have big responsibilities.
Yes.
Being a wife, being a mother, helping other women to remember to smile and find something to smile about is not an easy feat while you are, being on television, writing books and stuff. So we salute you, Bianca. That's phenomenal.
Thank you.
That is phenomenal. So 5 times author, right? 5 times author. How did we start? How did you know you were to be an author? How did you even get here?
Let's go back to my college days. I cannot not talk about my upbringing and how that's connected to me being an author. Mm-hmm. So when I was in undergrad, I was looking for a way to release childhood trauma, release the things that I had carried for so long. Yeah. And then coupling that with encountering racism on the college campus and sexism and being one Black student in a sea of white students in classrooms and that experience. So it got to my senior year of college where I began to write. But before I began to write, I went to the counseling center on campus to talk to a counselor. And at that time, that wasn't a good pairing, so I didn't go back to that counselor. And someone recommended, how about you write? And I had journal off and on since I was a kid. I had a diary that I used to carry around, had the little locket on it, with the key and everything. The Lisa Frank, if y'all know Lisa Frank, I had the Lisa Frank
Go
diaries,
back.
the throwback. So I got a journal, and when I began to write, it flowed out poetically.
Mm.
It's not something that I was like, oh, I'm gonna write poetry to tell my story. What was in my heart flowed out poetically, and I just kept writing and kept writing. And as I was writing, I started to feel lighter. I started to feel better. I started to feel as though I was healing from past hurts. And then I shared with a friend at the time and my mom a couple of my poems. And it was like, you should turn that into a book. You should do open mics. I was like, wait. This is my journal. Like, I am just expressing myself because this is the only way that I know right now without going crazy, without holding all this stuff in.
Yeah.
But they planted a seed in me, right? So I kept that seed like, maybe one day I'll turn this poetry into a book. Maybe one day it could help somebody else. But that came after I began my healing journey through writing.
So you started out not even trying to be an author, but
No.
really just using writing as a way of like therapy, if you will.
Yes.
And then you transition the writings into a book.
Yes.
So Bianca, give us the names of your book and like a quick snippet of what those books are about.
Yes. So my first book that I turned some of my poetry writings into is called A Journey Through a Beautiful Mind. And A Journey Through a Beautiful Mind takes you through a 2-year stint of my poetic journey of being a silent sufferer and how I use writing to come out of suffering silently with being depressed, silently with people seeing me smile but not knowing what's really in my heart, silently with being a high achiever, but no one really understanding what it took for me to get to that place, and how I now in retrospect thinking about how I use high achieving as my way of escape, as my focus, as what I needed to get myself out of situations. And so that was the first book. The second one is called Releasing the Fear Every Day, which is a workbook. And this workbook was born from a place of helping women to learn to release their fears with a 5-step process. And that was born from meetups that I had created and was facilitating called Release the Fear. And God dropped it in my spirit to create a workbook just in case some women weren't able to come to the meetups or didn't live in Chicago.
Right. Okay.
So to use that as a tool. Then my third book is called Release the Fear Volume 1. Voices Who Are Liberated from Fear. That's a collection of voices, over 25 women, including myself, talking about what they have overcome, what they have struggled with, and worksheets are embedded into this book to help you who may be struggling with fear to be liberated.
Okay, wow.
Then the fourth book is called When Niggas Get Lynched, a poetic series of real life events. And this was born from a place, it kicked off with the murder of Mike Brown. And I began to write poetry about seeing my Black brothers being lynched in this way. And I noticed the trend in my poetry over a few years. Every time I saw another news story and personal experiences with family members, and decided to put this collection of poetry into a book. And it's coupled with art by a friend where her art complements the poetry.
Oh, nice.
To really create a conversation about modern day lynching and what that looks like.
Yeah, and I'm glad you called it what it was. I'm glad you called it what it was. Okay, and so
Yes.
that's number 4?
That's number 4. And so
Okay,
the fifth book that was released in
I
2022,
got that one.
Captivating Confidence, an 11-step guide to help you basically own your inner greatness and have a better and more healthy relationship with yourself. So the essence of it is in the title. It's geared towards high achieving, go-getting, visionary women who you see out here doing it,
Mhm.
but they may not have a healthy relationship with themselves because of past hurts, because of childhood traumas, because of suffering in silence with depression, and utilize achieving high
Mm.
as their high.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's what we do. Um, when
Yeah.
I was there when Bianca was writing that book, and I was like, "Are you talking too loud? Would you hush?" My So you have written a series of books, whether it was short story collections or anthologies, poetry books, self-help books, if you will, workbooks. So you have like a whole array of books, right? And so talk about how was the first time publishing versus the fifth time publishing. How were
Ooh,
those experiences?
totally different. First
Mm-hmm.
of all, my first time publishing, I knew nothing about self publishing. I didn't even know that term. I didn't know what that meant. I just knew of publishing houses, and I was talking to local publishers to ask them, how do I publish a book? How much does that cost? Once they start sharing the amounts, I was like, so about this. That's not in my budget right now. And
Right.
so my book, and out of fear, I was like, maybe it's not time for me to publish
Mm,
because I don't have the funds right now. And my book sat on my computer for almost 3 years, my first book.
mm,
And until I was ready to release it again, and I prayed and like, okay, Lord, this year, I don't know how I'm gonna turn this document that's on my computer into an actual book, but I'm ready to let it go. I'm
mm,
healed from everything that I wrote about. I'm ready to release my own fear and help others. And I got connected to a dope woman who showed me how to self-publish my book because she had just self-taught herself how to do so. And so going from that being my first experience to my fifth book, but being a part of the Author Made Easy boot camp and being in the community of other authors and coaches and consultants, and we're all working on our books together, different subject matters, and holding each other accountable. It went from me almost being alone in my journey to a point where I got connected with someone to starting a journey with a collective,
mhm.
totally different experiences and a different way of writing.
That's exactly right. And I think too, by the time you got to the fifth book, though you had a coach and consulting and community, I think you also had enough experience of your own to kind of have an idea of just how to do this,
Yes.
what it is and what it's not. And
Right.
so now you have 5 books, right? And so a lot of people always want to know, like, when do you know when it's time to write the next book, right? Like I don't want to be a one-hit wonder, right? So when did you know when to write the next book?
When I had something to say,
Mm,
and I'll expound on that. Because of what I write about, it comes from a heart centered place to truly captivate the hearts and the minds of the reader. So for me, that takes a lot of deep reflection. It
mhm,
takes prayer and it takes lived experience. And with this fifth book, coupled with some research and taking the pulse of the times that we're living in. Like, what I have to say, is it relevant for
Mm.
the times? And if it's not relevant for the times, when do I release the message? Because maybe I have a message that may not be ready to be released in this season, but it's for an upcoming season.
That's real. And so having something to say, I think, is the key takeaway from what you just said, because I think oftentimes people want to write just to write. And people want to publish just to publish. And as a publisher, right, you would imagine Janae is going to be like, oh, publish, 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 publish. Yes. But we have to make sure that we are not being commercial. We have to make sure that we are giving somebody something to eat, that people can literally feed off of the words that you are saying, regardless of the genre. I definitely think that message matters. So I'm so glad that you brought that up.
Yes, message does matter. And I think about the books that I've birthed, and I look at the times that we're living in right now. It's like
Yeah.
people need to know that they're not alone. I hear suffering in silence so much now, and I was like, I was talking about that like 5 years ago, right? So it's now culture,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
churches, different arenas are saying mental health needs to be a conversation.
It does. It does.
Emotional health, spiritual health needs to be a conversation, because the same person you just saw at work or at church or at the grocery store, the next day they may be having a mental breakdown
Real, real, real. And
because we're hiding, we're masking
yeah.
what's really going on.
And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because to me that shows the power of words. Because when I started open book publishing, I had worked in education spaces for a very long time, and a lot of those students and parents that was connected to those schools were classified as like disadvantaged or underserved. And I was so confused, because I was like, all of the resources are free. Like, why don't they know that this is available? And I was like, because everything is put in a book that's not given to people who look like me. Or we're constantly saying, the old saying is true, if you want to keep something from a black person, put it in a book. And so I was like, we're going to publish books that are going to help people, and we're going to make sure that it gets into the right hands. And like through your work, we're able to see how books are really able to help transform, like
Yes,
literally transform one person. And
yes,
doing it with one person, you can change a family, you can change
yes.
a community.
Community, you can change the world.
You could literally revolutionize communities with a pen and a paper. Literally.
Yes. I mean, we're reading books now. People, the authors have since passed, okay? Like, since passed. People are reading history books, but people have since passed. And I want to share this
Mm-hmm.
because someone may not believe that words matter or believe that what they have to say matters. Let
Mm-hmm.
me tell you, I was once in that place when I felt called to use words to transform lives. I was like, words? What are words going to do? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
need to do more. But now I have a deeper understanding of words, that words can lead to actions.
Right.
How do people receive encouragement? Through words.
Mm-hmm. It's a seed.
Yes, planting seeds. So know that your words plant seeds. So be mindful of the words that you share.
Right, right. You definitely have to be, as an author, I think you also have to remember that you have two things. You have power, because your words can influence, but that also means that you have a responsibility. that you
Yes.
are publishing or that you are saying the right words that are equitable and that they are ethical and respectful, as much as like we're going to encourage you to be bold and to be damn in what you're going to say, but you also need to tell the truth, right? There's not some made
Yes.
up stuff, that you are true to the words that you are saying, because you literally can transform somebody's life for the good or for the bad.
Yes.
For
Yes,
the good
exactly.
or the bad. And you mentioned something that I want to circle back to. You said that you didn't know that your
Hmm.
words can change people. And so, what do you
Yeah.
have to say to people who feel like my life is boring, or I don't really have no story, or books aren't for me? What do you have to say to those folks?
Everybody has a story. If
Mhm.
you are still breathing, you got a story.
Yeah.
You were born, you have a story.
Hmm.
Everybody has a story. It's a matter of you seeing the value in your voice, you understanding the power of your voice. I'm very big on teaching my children and other children the power of their voice, the power of making decisions, the power of speaking up for yourself and walking in authority
Yeah.
and being confident in who you are and understanding who you are on this journey. And that evolves over time. So I would encourage that person to do some self reflection. And what I mean by self reflection, to challenge you, whether it's through writing, pulling out the notepad in your phone, making a voice memo in your phone, or talking to a family or friend and say, what do you see in me?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're writing to yourself, write down, what do I see in myself?
Yeah.
Who am I? What
Yeah.
do I bring to this world? What do I add to spaces when I am asked to sit at a table? Why do I think I've been asked to come to this table?
That's good, because even I said in Publish Like the Pros, I was talking about you got to get curious.
Yes.
You have to become. I started to ask myself, like, everybody used to always tell you you should write a book, and then I was like, why everybody keep saying
Yeah, and ask them why you say that.
that?
I still do that all the time. I'll get a comment, Bianca, you are awesome. I said, what does that mean?
Yeah, get
Because
curious.
I want to have a picture or an image of what you see and see if I see the same thing.
It triggers self-reflection and introspection, where you
Yes.
are, because eventually when everybody keeps saying these things, especially positive things, they're able to see something in you that you didn't see in yourself, and I almost feel like they're able to see something that's years to come, that you are
Yes.
like journeying through. So I always tell authors, like, what you're saying essentially is to get curious, like,
Yes.
because your book isn't about you. It's not about, oh, I don't have a story to tell. Whatever you experience, good, bad, happy, or sad, or in the middle, it can help transform the next person. The Bible says a wise man learns from a fool. So if you tell about your foolish moments, rather in business, rather at home, rather with your parents, rather as a parent, whatever the case, rather going fishing,
Right. You can
learning how to drive, whatever,
right a better way to tie a shoe. I mean, it
whatever.
can it can make someone's life a little bit smoother
Yeah,
and be mindful of the potholes and the pitfalls. Like, hey, I tried that. Go this way.
go this way. Yeah.
Go this way. Let me help you make your life a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
that's how I see books, as a mentorship avenue. Let me help you get to where you're trying to go faster.
Books as a mentorship avenue. Put that on a shirt, Bianca. That's good. That's good. Okay, so we talked about your journey of becoming an author and the motivations and the inspirations. So now that you are an author, how has being an author opened doors for you? How has the
Mm.
books adding to your life changed your life?
I mean, being here on your show is one testament to how it has changed my life. I get invited to speak. I'm a speaker as well, to facilitate workshops at conferences and to be invited into schools to speak to students. And folks want to do bulk order of books because they like, the women in my ministry need this, or the girls in my class need this. It has opened so many doors that I could have not imagined, even down to having my podcast on television. I believe that was another opportunity because I was podcasting prior to and sharing why I do what I do. And podcasting, I believe, was born from what I write about.
Yeah, it most certainly was.
So having a different space to reach more people.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
it continues to open up doors. And
Yeah,
it even opens up doors in the workplace, right? Like I bring a different type of skill set as an entrepreneur into the work that I do in my 9 to 5.
yeah.
You have a different Entrepreneurs have a different way of thinking
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
problem solving. So it opens up a multitude of doors. And I would encourage anyone listening not to limit yourself to saying, well, I'm an author and I'm going to stay there. It's like, be open
Mm-hmm.
to what being an author can bring you.
Yeah, what journey, what path it takes, because it's very much like a lead magnet. And I don't mean
Mhm.
lead magnet from a business term as far as like that's how you generate new leads to get customers and clients for your services or products. But I mean it's a lead magnet where being an author makes you attractive.
Yeah.
People gravitate towards you. People want to hear what you have to say. You become an expert, or like become like
Yes.
someone with a PhD all of a sudden.
Yes.
You become the go-to person when we want to
Mhm.
know, how do you build confidence?
Right.
I
How
know
do I release my fears? Like, help me.
they call
Right.
because she has this book, and she can literally say, I wrote the book on that, you know? And
Right. And I live it. Like, I still live it. There are
mhm,
moments in my life, most recently, I was like, I feel fear. Why do I feel fear? And I can go back to my own book and see what I wrote and be like, all right, right. Let me
yeah,
remind myself of how far I've come.
yeah.
And let me remind myself that sometimes fear is an indication that I'm about to go to another level.
And that's when you know that you have really written a quality book where you can go back to your own book and get blessed. Okay.
Yes.
Your own book. And so I love how you were telling authors to be open and that you really painted a good picture about all the opportunity that comes from writing a book. Like you don't have to be a five-time author. You could write one book that takes you far by itself, you know, or you can take multiple books that take you into different avenues. So you don't have to stop at author. And I like to believe, regardless if you self publish or you traditionally publish, there is a level of entrepreneurship that's going to come with it because
Oh,
now you have
definitely.
a product, right?
Yes.
And so I think that once you publish this book, you are now an authorpreneur.
Oh,
So I
definitely.
love, right? So I love how you were just like, I'm an entrepreneur. And when I go into my 9 to 5, I have a different way of looking because of that process, not just to write the book, but to publish the book also helps to shift your mind and how you process differently, and you're able to bring that. And so that's also something, how you think and how you are able to perceive things and how you're able to add value in corporate spaces is also something that comes from being an author.
Definitely. The what we call it what's the term for it? Like cross
Cross market
no,
transferable
transferable skills.
skills.
Yes.
Mhm,
Transferable skills and understanding. I may have more in me than I realize.
mhm, mhm,
If you I started out blogging
mhm.
when Behind the Confident Smile was first born. And who would have thought that those blog posts, like I can convert some of them and put them in my book. You could use transcripts from conversations like this being interviewed and put it in your book. You can transcribe, if you are a podcast host, transcribe your podcast and put that in a book. It's so many ways and avenues to produce content and put it across different platforms and different mediums. And thinking outside of the traditional way, I need to sit down at the computer and think about my titles of the books and then write every paragraph. It's like voice recording when you taking a walk, cooking dinner, like this is what I have to say. And you can clean it up on the back end. I was just encouraging a friend of mine about that. I said, as you are writing your book, don't edit yourself as you write. I said, just write. I said, that's the editor's job.
Yes,
don't do the editor's job.
Say it again.
It is your job as the aspiring author to write the content. It's the editor's job to edit the content.
That's correct. That is correct. I call it getting to the gold. Behind, like James Brown said, I think it was James Brown. We're gonna give it to James Brown. He said, behind every good man is a good woman. I think that's what he said, but I do know James Brown has a song called "It's a Man's World." That's what don't give it to James today.
Right.
So I believe behind every good author is a great editor. And I encourage authors to not censor themselves or edit themselves out, like what you said. So I'm glad that you said that, because there's plenty of ways to skin this cat, right? We don't have to remember that old black and white composition notebook?
Yes.
You don't have to get the composition notebook and write with your ballpoint pen just to write a book these days. It's so many ways to do it, from the voice memo, like you were saying, to throwing some notes in your phone as they come to you. I know an author, she had a one of these, the sticky notepads that are stuck together, and she'll be at work and gotta be downloading stuff to her, and she'll be doodling. And she put the sticky notes on a printer and sent them to herself, and it made it into a document, and that's how she got her book. I know somebody else who was planning for her wedding, and she was going to the gym, and when she was sitting in her car, because she's too doggone tired to get out the car, she talked to herself through voice memos, because she wanted to have this book done before her honeymoon. And she got these voice memos, she transcribed them. Now she has the book done. There's plenty of ways to skin the cat. Even Google Docs and Microsoft Word has a dictation button now. Like, it's so many ways to do it. So just do it.
Just do it. And don't think too hard. Like, and that's what I would tell myself 5 books ago, right? I don't think too hard about what you're writing. What you're writing is meant to help someone.
Yeah. Be reader focused.
Yes, reader focused instead of you focused. Like, this book ain't for you.
It's not. And that's going to require you to be willing to be vulnerable, and willing to be vulnerable, right? Because you're going to have to tell your ugly truth, and you can do that with respectfully.
Right.
You can do that and maintain your integrity, but you have to acknowledge that your book is missioned to help somebody. So that requires you to talk about life when you needed help.
Right.
Whatever creative way that you want to do that, whether it's poetry, whether you do that through fantasy, whether you do that in a informational based book, whether you do that through a book of graphics, right? Your book is going to touch somebody. It's going to plant the seed that you needed at the time when you got the inspiration and you got the muse. Yes, books are made for entertainment too, the same way movies are.
Right.
But it's still making an imprint. No pun intended. Imprint on the reader, on the viewer, on the listener now, because now we have audiobooks and that sort. So yeah, just be willing to be vulnerable, and know that you will be blessed because of that. Because your girl on TV, okay, Chicago, no Bianca, okay.
And you can stream it on YouTube too, so anybody can watch it from anywhere.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, Bianca, before we get out of here, tell us, what is the inspiration? What is the motivation that you
Mm.
have? What word of encouragement do you have for somebody who was you 5 books ago, or is you now? Right? Because don't get it twisted. Every level has a new challenge. Okay.
That part. But I would tell myself 5 books ago, and then I'll tell myself now. 5 books ago, I would say you are exactly where you need to be,
Mhm.
and you are going to touch so many people's lives. But before you do that, don't forget to care for yours.
That's good.
Don't
That's
forget to care for yourself. Don't forget that you are a critical factor in the reason why this is being birthed.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, because sometimes, as a person who is a servant and have a selfless mindset, you can be selfless to a fault
Mhm.
and forget to take care of yourself. And that's what I speed up to book 5, right? About having a healthy relationship with yourself and what that looks like. And what I would tell myself now is to remember to keep myself and my relationship with God in the forefront,
Mm.
because what has been produced is fruit
Yeah.
from the place of prayer
Mm.
and relationship.
That's
So
good.
I need to remain plugged in.
Amen. Yeah. 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 That'll preach by itself. Okay. That'll be a whole nother episode. Um, so I will say this. We always end with a dear author's affirmation. And
Mm.
so what I will say is, dear authors, don't censor yourself. Do not feel the need to commercialize yourself. Do not feel the need to duplicate somebody else. That the moment that the seed was dropped for you to even consider, think, wonder, get curious about becoming an author, you are already good ground for that. And so I challenge you to do what authors do and write and publish your book. And that is, whether you are an inspiring author or you are already a published author, to run with that, to allow yourself to become, and then after you do that, to allow yourself to become open of all the possibilities and all the opportunities that will come, because your book is also a seed for you, aka look at Bianca, right? We would have never guessed that. We would have never imagined that. But her obedience to serving others through her documenting her journey has birthed a seed for now she's getting blessed in all these many areas. So that is my dear author's affirmation to all of our listeners and viewers. And so, Bianca, ma'am,
Yes.
tell us where we can get connected, where we can buy the book, where we can watch the podcast, and all that good stuff.
Yes. So everything is a one-stop shop on my website, behindtheconfidentsmile.com. You'll find the links to all of my books, to my podcast on there, on all the platforms that it's on. If you need a speaker, you can request me as a speaker. You can do all of that through my website. And I'm heavy on Instagram at Bianca N Cotton. You can find me there in my link tree. All the links are there as well. So let's connect. Send me a message.
Yeah.
Send Janae a message and let us know how this is encouraging you.
Absolutely. And good people, you know that you can connect to Open Book Publishing at www.obpublishing.com. You can also visit us everywhere there's social, from Instagram to TikTok to LinkedIn to Facebook, and all the other stuff the kids got, honey. We are at Open Book Publishing, or OB Publishing as well. Myself is, you can follow me everywhere on Miss Janae B, and we will be happy to connect with you. You guys tune in and get plugged in and get in where you fit in. But all right, authors, all right, viewers,
Yes.
thank you for another episode of Dear Authors. Thank you, Miss Bianca N.
My
Cotton.
pleasure. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And until next time, good people, be well.
Yes.